and welcome back into another episode of The Hard Foul. I'm your host, Pearson Fowler. With me, as always, back from Starkville, from Stark Vegas. Not quite triumphant, but I imagine it was a good trip. Collyn Taylor of Gamecock Central?
Yeah, I had a good barbecue sandwich. I got to sit, or not a sandwich, I got a Hattie B's hot chicken sandwich.
Oh, nice. Hattie B's.
Then I had barbecue, and we stopped and had this great meal in Atlanta on the way back. So, for me, great trip.
That's
great
really
food
good.
Trip.
So you did not travel with Chris Wellbaum, who does
No.
the Gamecock Central game day updates,
No.
because he does not like barbecue.
Chris Gillespie does not like barbecue.
Oh.
Do not put that on. That's Chris Gillespie.
Chris Gillespie that does the updates and doesn't like barbecue?
No, he's our photographer.
Okay.
There's a lot of stories. Gillespie and I travel a lot for football and baseball stuff when they do postseason.
So Gillespie does not like barbecue.
Yes.
Wellbaum does the updates?
Yes.
I thought this whole time when you were saying going with Chris, like when y'all would go on road trips, that he was coming with you to do the updates.
No.
Okay, so Chris Gillespie, the photographer.
There we go. Glad we settled this. Chris
Okay,
Gillespie
yeah, no,
and I
that's
travel
good.
a lot.
I feel bad now. Chris Wellbaum, if I've offended you by thinking this for the last couple weeks ever since I made this realization that a guy named Chris at Gamecock Central did not like barbecue.
They're multiple.
I apologize. And I also apologize if I have now confused you, the listeners. But point is,
I got barbecue.
you got to eat barbecue in Starkville.
Yeah.
I talked to Mike Gillespie about it yesterday. I've never been to Starkville. He said it's a real one-stop kind of town. He said there's an Italian restaurant, and that's about it. So was the barbecue in Starkville proper, or was it on the way?
Yeah,
Okay.
Starkville proper. I actually like Starkville a lot. I got to go last year for baseball. Yeah, and so that was a lot of fun. It's one of those unique places where time has kind of stood still for a little bit. So
that kind of anachronistic.
Yeah, and everyone knows everybody, and they love Mississippi State sports. And I've now done the big three. This completed what I call the trifecta for football, basketball, baseball. So I've been for all three big sports now.
Oh, cool.
And it's one of the cooler towns. If you have a chance to go to Starkville, go. I don't recommend. I couldn't live there, me personally.
But go for a sporting event?
But go for a sporting event. Go for a weekend. There's enough to do there on a weekend.
Okay.
To where you got some good food. You get to walk around campus and see a few things, and it's a unique part of the country.
So Mississippi borders Alabama,
Yes.
but is not Alabama.
Yes.
Does Mississippi have its own barbecue tradition, or is it similar to Alabama's where they have the white sauce predominantly?
No, I mean, we went to Little Dewey's, which is a little bit of a famous spot down there, kind of a, cult classic comparison. Great barbecue. They had ketchup-based sauce, so kind of a sweeter. It's close to Memphis, so it's Memphis-y, which I prefer to. I think that's the superior of the sauces.
Of all the sauces, or
all
just between
the
that and
sauces.
Alabama? Really? You're a tomato.
I'm a tomato all the way guy.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you're from here.
I'm from here, yeah.
That's surprising.
Hate mustard-based barbecue sauce.
Mustard and vinegar dominate the Carolinas.
I love
Mustard
vinegar
in
is
this
a
part of
very
Carolina.
close second.
Really?
Very close second.
Do you like mustard?
No.
Okay, well, that's why you don't
That's
like
why I don't like
mustard-based.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that's
I mean,
fair.
it's a very
I love mustard. I think it's the best condiment. I love coarse, stone ground mustard on everything, and mustard-based barbecue sauces.
See, I'm a big ketchup guy, so
Yeah.
I prefer
Now, ketchup is perfect, and Malcolm Gladwell wrote a whole New Yorker piece about why ketchup is the perfect condiment, which is great. But I've just been trying to eat less of it because there's sugar in it, and
Yeah.
I'm a loser now because I'm
Can't do it.
in my mid-20s, my metabolism's slowing down, so I got to be careful. So it's been
See, I'm
mustard.
approaching my mid-20s too, and I'm full bore ahead. Let's go.
No, you got a couple more. You're what, 24?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you got 2 more years before you start what is considered the beginning of the male physical prime. 26 to 30, I think, is when you're in your physical prime.
Awesome.
I'm
working on my dad bod.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm already getting close to that.
Perfect. I won't ask you if you're working on anything else about being a dad yet.
No.
But we'll instead talk about basketball. So he mentioned that the people of Starkville love their basketball team, love their sports teams, I guess. And Mississippi State's had a pretty good year. They're a bubble team pretty solidly in kind of the next 4 out or, last 4 in.
Yeah.
First 4 out, whatever. They're in, sort of that bubble range with South Carolina.
There where South Carolina is, right?
But there weren't a ton of people there. It was 5,000-6,000 people in the arena?
It filled up. I mean, to a degree, it filled up a little bit better as the night went on, but it was empty. It was probably less than half full.
Man.
But the thing is the noise, the people that were there were loud.
Okay.
So the noise when it got loud and the arenas, which they call the Hump, and I will never not laugh at that.
It's the Humphrey, right?
It's the Humphrey Coliseum,
Yeah.
but they just shorten it to the
Hump. Yeah.
Cool little basketball arena. It's small enough to where when the noise gets loud enough, it'll just sit on you, kind of thing. I mean, it only seats. I'm looking it up. It only seats like 10,000 people, maybe.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, it seats 10,575.
So it was more than half full.
Yeah, and I mean it's a perfect college basketball arena because it does sit. The ceiling is low. It's not like Colonial Life where it's cavernous and noise kind of gets lost in there.
Starkville's not trying to host the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
That's
so but it's a perfect little college basketball arena. Perfect.
But it was a game that Mississippi State fans had a lot to cheer about. They won the game 79-76. It only took us 6 minutes into the podcast to tell you what happened in the game. For those of you that are listening to this, but for some reason don't actually know what happened in the game, a game that South Carolina could afford to lose. When we were looking ahead to the last 6 games and saying if South Carolina goes 4-2 or better, they put themselves in a really, really good position to have a legitimate case to make the NCAA tournament. Of those last 6 games, this was the least important. This was the most losable game for South Carolina, and they did that. And if they were going to lose it, they did it in just about the best way possible.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about the frantic finish, which was exciting, and how ultimately maybe like it doesn't mean a whole lot. It was nice to see them show some fight and some grit and to kind of get back in it and make a bunch of shots and have some steals, on inbound passes and things like that and get back in it. But like ultimately, you still lost the game, so what does it matter? It does matter because it improved Carolina's efficiency. It improved their margin of loss. And those are the kinds of things that are going to make a difference as you come down to the wire and the net numbers start to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, if you're South Carolina, obviously winning a game against a top 60 net team on the road would have given you a quad 1 win. But you got 2 more opportunities for quad 1 wins down the stretch against LSU, who will probably drop to a quad 2 if you beat them, but will rise probably back up into the top 30.
They're still quad 1 right now?
They're 30th.
Okay, because they were 29 going into that Kentucky game, and they lost pretty comfortably. They only dropped 1 spot, I guess, which makes sense because Kentucky's
as of Friday morning, they're 30th.
That makes sense because Kentucky's probably a top 20 net team?
22nd, yeah.
Or 22nd? Okay, yeah. So not going to punish them too much for losing that.
Yeah, and it'll be one of those things where, like, if you beat LSU, which we'll talk about, then they'll probably slide to, like, 35th, and they'll work their way back up, kind of like what Kentucky did.
Right. Assuming they don't just keep losing, because we'll talk about LSU in a minute, but slumping big time.
And so you get 2 more opportunities for quad 1 wins against Alabama and LSU. Not the end of the world. Obviously, you would have liked to have had it, but in the grand scheme, you didn't drop in the net. You stayed pretty consistent with 5 games to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually moved up in Lenardi's bracketology. They're still in the next 4 out. Mm-hmm. So one of the first 8 teams left out of the tournament. But they moved up from the last spot to the second spot in the next 4 out. They moved up 2 spots. It's good.
It's good. It's good. That is short of winning the game. That was probably the best possible. Not probably. Short of winning the game, that was the best possible outcome.
Absolutely.
For South Carolina. Maik Kotsar went the wrong way. Not his fault. Frank Martin has taken the blame for not communicating that correctly. And you know what? If we want to absolve Mike of any blame for doing anything after he put up a 24-7-4 with 3 steals on 11 of 17 shooting, making both of his free throws, we can absolve him of maybe like a communication mistake. Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't the difference in the game. But when you come down to it, it's like, wow, if Mike had gone to the right, because Jermaine Couisnard missed that last free throw exactly like he was supposed to, which is really impressive. I honestly feel like that would be harder than making a free throw, is missing it the right way.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I heard this story in high school, and I never researched it, so this may be apocryphal, but I like the spirit of it, about these 2 guys that got into Harvard, and they got zeros on their SATs, or like whatever the lowest or like 200, because you apparently get 200 points for signing your name or whatever. Or maybe they did get zeros. I don't know, but the point was they got every single question wrong on the SAT, and then wrote their college essay about how and why they did it, and they made this really compelling case. It's like, look, if you don't answer a question, you automatically get a quarter of a point. And you can also guess and get the correct answer. But we actually game the system, and the only way we could have gotten every single question wrong is if we knew for sure all of the answers. So they made this case about how they had broken the system and things like that. And that's a case where it's like it's harder to do it wrong than to do it right.
Yeah.
Long-winded explanation, but that's how my brain works. It's just like free association all the time, and that's what it made me think of. But anyway, impressive for Jermaine to miss that. Carolina would have had a chance. 2 would have tied it. 3 would have, I guess, given them the lead. There was a little bit of time left that maybe Mississippi State could have taken a shot. Point is, good win or good loss for Carolina, in as much as that exists. It was efficient. They shot 48% from the field. 3-point shooting wasn't great, 4 of 17, 23.5%. But they shot free throws well again. They did not lose the offensive rebounding battle. They lost the glass by just 3 rebounds. And they actually out-rebounded Mississippi State on the offensive glass, which is impressive because you and I talked so much about what was going to happen against one of the biggest teams in the country, the biggest team in the SEC, when you're down a starting big and an important backup big. How do you compensate for that? And Carolina did fine. Like they did. It's weird. They did enough things right that they totally could have won this game, and they won some margins that I didn't necessarily think that they were going to win. And yet they did enough things wrong that it's like just small things that would have changed the outcome of this game, and I think encourage you going forward.
Yeah, and I think that if you had told me Reggie Perry had 10 points on 2 of 8 shooting, I would have said, holy hell.
And 7 turnovers.
Yeah, South Carolina won this game going away.
GOAT-Sar.
GOAT-Sar, man. Veronica, I hope you're listening. That way you can wear your shirt. I know you listen to our podcast.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is that the one that you saw originally, or did she get one made since we were talking about that?
I think she got one made when I tweeted it.
Because we've talked about it recently about needing to get those like printed, and you said that you had seen one.
Well, I got tagged in on Twitter.
Okay.
So I saw it on
Was
Twitter.
that hers originally?
I think so.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
It was awesome. The weirdest, coolest moment of my career so far.
Yeah. Someone
I've
made
been doing
t-shirt
this for
out of your tweet. That's pretty
6
good.
years. So, I think this is, they did a lot of things right, and they were able to contain an SEC Player of the Year candidate in Reggie Perry in large part because of Maik Kotsar. Like, for the entire reason because of Maik Kotsar. And the only problem was the guards just weren't able to keep, Weatherspoon and Stewart out of the paint. They couldn't keep the ball in front of them, and that's been an Achilles heel when you're playing a team with 2 quick guards that drive the ball well.
Right. Well, but it's weird because, again, where you would have thought Mississippi State won this game was on the glass and points in the paint because of their bigs. I mean, they won the points in the paint margin, I think, pretty comfortably, but it was from their guards. And this was not the best backcourt that South Carolina has seen or will see.
No.
So I was, again, I can't say I was surprised because you're right, like just that kind of, like that style of guard Carolina has had trouble defending at times this year, but they lost the game for reasons that I didn't necessarily think they would lose the game. And maybe that makes some people feel worse, but for me, that makes you feel a little bit better because once they get back, at least McCreary back into the fold, and if you get just a little bit better game out of Bryant or Lawson or Couisnard, all of whom Bryant had a bad game. Lawson was fine. Couisnard kind of did what he does.
He compiled late, though.
Yeah.
He shot a lot of free throws late.
Yeah, he did. 9 of 12
I think he was
Couisnard.
I think he...
But
he had 10 points on 10 shots at one point in the game. He was 3 of 10 from the field with 10 points.
Yeah, 4 of 11, not his most efficient shooting, and 0 of 5 from 3.
Yeah.
But still got to his 17 points. That's what he does in SEC play, which is still impressive. I mean, that's 17 points you can bank. I had someone hit me on Twitter during the game. It's like, oh, you said you can count on this, that, and the other. I'm like, Couisnard got to his scoring average, and like maybe it was the free throws late, but look, we're talking about the free throws late. One of them was missed on purpose, so that was 18 points. He could have made that one if he wanted to, and I get those free throws late don't really matter. It's like one of those weird kind of comebacks. We were talking about LSU and Kentucky earlier. That was a game that Kentucky won very comfortably. LSU made it look closer than it was at the end. Similar situation here for Carolina, except they really had a chance to grab that last offensive rebound and tie the game or go ahead and win it. So
yeah.
I think ultimately, not a great game from Couisnard. Fine. AJ, a little bit below his scoring margin, but was good on the glass. Dished a couple dimes. Wasn't great defensively. Frank Martin said as much after the game. But point is, you get a little bit better performance from any of those 3 guys, and that's the difference in this game. Everything else, all those other margins, Carolina was at least competitive. Still got some decent productivity from their bench. Wildens-Vet gave them 6 points and 5 rebounds. Trey Hannibal, a couple points, a couple rebounds, and assists. He had some bad turnovers, some more freshman moments.
And you do need more from your bench. Frank even talked about it, where it's like, if Jalen's not there, you got to find other ways to get it.
Right.
And Wildens...
But you're really only playing 3 guys at that point.
Yeah. And you need more because you're not getting a whole lot from Lawson or
as
Bryant.
Much as you need, especially Bryant.
Yeah.
But 14 points from 3 guys on the bench. I know okay. Moss played. And he's 11 minutes, but he's never going to score.
And Jair was weird. He had he had that big 3 late, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, really didn't do a whole lot. And I think you just need more consistency from those guys. And Levesque's shown a lot of promise there, but he still goes out there and fouls a little bit too much. He got caught out of position a few times that led to some backdoor cuts and dunks, and you just need more from that. It's a consistency thing, and that's what you battle when you have young guys that are having to play a lot of minutes, when you lose your starting four and then you lose your backup four.
And maybe the reality is all these things should not encourage you for this stretch run, these last 5 games for Carolina, because we've seen, I don't want to say more often than not, but we've seen many times this year that those have been the issues, and it's not like all of a sudden they're going to get fixed. Just because we have seen Jermaine have more efficient scoring games doesn't mean that you're always going to get that, because it's been there in terms of the point total, but the efficiency has fluctuated a little bit. For AJ, we've seen him slump. He's getting back to it. He's still not exactly AJ, although we did have the AJ is back game. Was that last game or 2 games ago? And then a little bit not back now. But it was fine. It was a decent game, not a bad game, not a great game. It needs to be more, but maybe it is fair to say you can't expect that to just progress to the mean, and that from now on he's going to be 16, 17 points. He's going to score more efficiently, because that hasn't necessarily been the guy that we've seen all year.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say you want more from your NBA prospect. I think it's fair to say, what's he averaging this year? I'm looking it up now. You want more from a guy that's supposed to be this first-round talent.
Yeah, AJ's 13.7, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 turnovers a game. So 1-to-1 assist to turnover, 3.5 rebounds is fine for basically a 2, and then you need that scoring to be closer to where Jermaine is. Like, under 14 points is not what you need.
No, from a guy that was expected to be a fringe late first-round pick. You need more from him, and you need consistent from him. I'm looking up his conference per games here. He's averaging, I'm looking now, 11.9 points in conference games, 3.8 rebounds, 1.4 assists to 1.6 turnovers, over 2 fouls per game, shooting 41.3% from the field. I think it's fair to say you want more from him.
Yeah.
Because
especially when you look at his freshman numbers, he's scoring a little bit more on the season. Freshman year, he was 13.4 points per game, but he averaged 4.3 rebounds a game, almost a whole rebound more. The assist number was a whole assist more. It was 2.9 assists per game. Same amount of blocks and steals, exactly 0.2 and exactly 1.1 for blocks and steals respectively, and then 2.6 turnovers. So the turnovers are down, but the rebounds and assists are down, almost a whole rebound and a whole assist. And the scoring has technically picked up a little bit, but
marginally.
Yeah, in an SEC play, like I think last year was kind of the opposite, where he picked his game up the more the season progressed.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing, is because you wanted AJ Lawson to step up and be the guy, and he's had to handle a lot. He doesn't have the same bailout abilities that he did when he was playing with a guy like Hassani, with a guy like Chris behind him, and a guy like Mike beside him. And it's caused a lot of problems, and he's kind of still trying to find his role, and it's made him be a little bit streaky, and that's the problem with it. And you need to figure out a way to make sure he stays healthy, first of all, down the stretch, because you do need him, and get to the point where you feel comfortable saying, we know what we're going to get night in and night out. It could be good, it could be bad, but you just need to know what you're getting so you can game plan around it.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it was more consistent, and that was my point. And maybe the reality is it's just not consistent. And then the stretch from Vanderbilt to Georgia was just as much of a streak as his slump was, and now it's going to continue to be up and down, because Vanderbilt 14 points, Arkansas 19 points, Missouri 13 points, but it was on 5 of 9 shooting, so efficient. Ole Miss is the one that sticks out. That's 5 points on 2 of 10 shooting, but that was a bad game for everybody except for Jermaine. 18 points against A&M,
and
20
Mike,
points on 7 of 10
Mike
from
had
Georgia.
a good game against Ole Miss.
Huh?
Mike had a good game against Ole Miss.
Mike had a good game against Ole Miss. That's right. But Jermaine had the 28, which was kind of what sticks out in your head from that game.
I remember. You remember Jermaine a little bit more there.
So that's a nice stretch.
Yeah.
14, 19, 13, 5, 18, 20, and then 9 and 12 on a combined 7 of 18 shooting the last 2 games. So while maybe, and look, I want AJ to be back. So maybe me saying AJ's back after that streak was wishful thinking and wrong, because that was just the inverse of his 8 points, 12 points, 4 points, 5 points, 13 points, 11 points, and a bunch of turnovers. It's just streaky.
Yeah. And that's what it is at this point. And it'll be interesting to see how interesting it gets after the season, because
he's not going to the NBA right now.
He has a decision to make. I mean, he does have a decision to make. He's probably, if I were him, which I'm just speculating at this point. There's no, haven't done any checking. I don't have the time to check on all that stuff right now. But you test the waters. You go work out for a couple teams. Yeah. That's the smart thing to do.
He did that last year, right?
Yeah. He didn't really work out for anybody, though.
He just kind of got some evaluations.
Yeah, he got some evaluations, spent some time working out at home, and then came back. I feel like everyone kind of knew what was going on.
But
there.
do what Chris did after his junior year, Chris Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go, you get evaluated. They tell you, hey, we think you're at best X. Right now, he's not on any mock drafts. I don't think he's on a big board yet.
No, he shouldn't be. He hasn't played nearly well.
You're right. And I think he'll get told that by GMs and head coaches and scouts and whatnot. And then he's got a decision to make. Does he come back for another year at South Carolina? I mean, he's got options to do things. Does he come back for another year at South Carolina? Does he decide maybe I want to go pro and go somewhere else overseas, play a different competition? Or does he decide, F it, I'm going to test the waters in the NBA and see what happens there? I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm just saying those are probably the options you get for A.J. Lawson over the next. You could transfer. That's obviously an option. I don't think he's going to do
like
that.
the least likely.
Yeah, it seems very much like the least likely, but I mean, there's 4 options that you could have. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does. And I think that he could benefit from another year in college. I also think he could benefit from going overseas and playing in a good overseas league. But who knows what's going to happen.
When he gets an evaluation, they're going to say, AJ, we like your upside.
Oh, absolutely.
But you need to shoot better. You need to pass better. You need to rebound better. You need to not turn the ball over. You need to defend better. You need to add about 45 pounds.
Yeah.
Basically everything. Everything needs to get better. And for AJ, he's got to be looking at what the future of this team is. I mean, look, this is kind of the floor of what this assembly of talent can be. Which makes sense because it's the first year they've all played together. But you give Frank another year with basically all the same guys. You bring back everybody a year older, a year better. This is a team that is already still in the conversation for trying to make the NCAA tournament now. And once they get there, who knows? They've got enough guys. Jair Bolden can win you a tournament game because he can score 24. Maik Kotsar is going to win you a tournament game because he's just playing like that right now. AJ Lawson, he can go for 27. He can win you a tournament game. All of a sudden, you're in the Sweet 16. Yeah. So that's there. There's a roadmap for that. And I mean, anytime any team gets in the tournament, there's chances and things like that. But for AJ, you're looking at that and you're saying, I can come back and play for a guy that is one of the better proven developers of talent over the course of a long period of time. It's like, oh yeah, Coach K and Calipari and these guys. It's like, yeah, but you get one and done. You get the best talent.
Yeah.
Chris Silva goes 99% of other schools in the country. I don't think he is on an NBA contract.
Yeah, Frank's turned Maik Kotsar into an all-SEC type player after his struggles his sophomore year.
So you get to come back and play for one of the best, most proven developers in college basketball right now on a team that is going to have legitimate aspirations to play on a big stage towards the end of the season, and nothing boosts your profile that much. I understand that the G League is more viable than ever, European leagues are more viable than ever, but you're still not going to replicate the eyeballs that are going to be on you if you're making a tournament run. If you're like a top SEC team and you're on ESPN or like
PJ Dozier.
Carolina's on ESPN2 on Saturday night.
Yeah, PJ Dozier used that tournament run to kind of catapult himself, and
PJ Dozier was more NBA ready by far than AJ is right now.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting. I think that there's a very big decision that's going to need to get made within the next 6 weeks, depending on how South Carolina finishes out and if they go. They're going to be playing postseason basketball. I feel very comfortable saying they're going to be playing postseason basketball in some sense, whether that's the NIT or the NCAA tournament, depending on how things shake out. And then once that ends, that runs over. A.J. Lawson has a decision to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So
been inconsistent. If only South Carolina could get even inconsistent play from Keyshawn Bryant, they might be sitting better right now. It's just not even inconsistent. It's just not good.
Good. Yeah. And Frank's, I asked him after the Mississippi State game, what did you see from him and what does he need to do to get better? And he's like, and there's a story up right now on Gamecock Central, shameless plug, about it. And Frank even was like, listen, I don't know what's going on with him. Here's the exact quote. He's all over the place right now. I got no idea what he's doing, and I don't think he knows what he's doing. And I don't even think he knows what he's doing. I feel bad for him because he's really trying. He hasn't been able to be consistent with all of the plethora of injuries this year. Not wrong.
No.
And that's the problem with it, is that every time he gets close, a knee flares up, a concussion or something like that. So
and everything else too. The fouls, the turnovers. You did the research for this story. Y'all go read it on GamecockCentral.com. So you may know this off the top of your head, but we're going to play a little Collyn trivia right now.
Ooh.
How many games has Keyshawn Bryant scored double digits in SEC play?
3.
Correct. It was 12 against Georgia, it was 15 against Kentucky, and 14 in the SEC opener against Florida. How many times in SEC play has Keyshawn Bryant played more than 25 minutes?
They've played 13 games. Let's say 7.
This is
4.
a tricky one. 1. Florida.
Okay.
Played 24 minutes against Kentucky, 24 minutes against Tennessee, 22 against Vanderbilt, 21 against Ole Miss, 21 against Georgia. Every other game was in the teens or single digits. He can't even stay on the floor. He fouled out against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Had 4 fouls against A&M, 4 fouls against Ole Miss.
Too, weird part.
4 fouls against Vanderbilt, 4 fouls against Tennessee, 4 fouls against Florida. The turnover numbers are awful. 4 turnovers against Florida, 4 turnovers against Tennessee, 4 turnovers against Kentucky, 4 against Vanderbilt, 4 against Ole Miss, 2 against A&M, 2 against Georgia, 2 against Tennessee. He actually didn't turn the ball over against Mississippi State, so there you go. If you're looking for a bright side, Keyshawn did not turn the ball over for only the second time in SEC play and the third time this year.
And you look at some of the other stats, he didn't have any good rebound. He only had 2 rebounds against Mississippi State, which is a problem. You're going to need a guy like that with Mania out to rebound. But he had 3 assists and 2 steals.
Yeah.
But then fouled out and shot 3 and 9 from the field. So it's like, and he missed some ones that where you're like, he missed this great, TJ Moss throws up this alley-oop, slams it home, has a chance for Bryant to make this great play. USC's on a run. They do that, and I think they're down 1 point with 6 to go, if my memory serves. And then he misses. It goes right to a Mississippi State player.
Yeah,
up the
Nick
court.
Weatherspoon, I think, on the other end.
Yeah, and they slam it home, and then you're back down 5.
Got to finish that.
Yeah, you have to finish that if you're Keyshawn Bryant.
Is this is kind of Groundhog Day? Didn't we do this last time where I said, is it okay if I count out Keyshawn for the rest of the season?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I think you said that.
Oh, yeah, and then we tried to reverse jinx him.
Yeah.
But the negativity elsewhere in the podcast was, I guess, too vociferous, and it has poisoned him.
Yeah, you
and
said you were going to go to the bathroom like Keyshawn Bryant.
I did.
You said it.
I did say that. It was a simile. He's like the food that you're waiting for in a restaurant, and in the same way that you go to the bathroom to make the food get there faster, I was hoping that if I went to the bathroom waiting on Keyshawn to get better, I don't need to explain myself. It's okay. It was not good. And the difference between Keyshawn and AJ and Jermaine, again, I think both of whom had fine games, not bad games, not very good games.
Correct.
The difference is we've seen AJ have good games. We've seen Jermaine have a lot of really good games. And we can expect them to have, in the next 5 games, probably 3 more really good games each.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect both of those guys or either of those guys to have 5 really good games left in them this season, but 3 or 4 for sure. If Keyshawn has 1 good game in the next 5, I'll be very impressed and a little bit surprised.
I think that's fair because I think he's still trying to kind of get his feet under him. And, for as frustrated as I think fans are with Keyshawn, I think Keyshawn's probably more frustrated than all of them.
Definitely. You hope so anyway.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see how he responds. And I think that you're going to have to start game planning a little bit differently with that and trying to get him easier looks. And when you get those easier looks, which he's had at times, he's got to convert. And that's been the biggest problem this year.
Can we play another game?
Yeah.
It's called I Asked Collyn a Question that he wasn't necessarily prepared for me to ask, and he has to scramble to do research very quickly.
Shoot.
Do you want to play?
Yeah.
Okay. What is Alonzo Frank's rebounding rate? Because I feel like his scoring has dipped this year, which is a direct result of him having just a smaller workload, not playing as many minutes. The front court for South Carolina is a lot more crowded, even with Mania out. But I still feel like while he's in there, the only thing that he does as well as fouling is rebounding. He's a legitimately very good rebounder.
Would you like to know his season totals or his conference totals?
Give me his conference totals first.
So he has a 15.1 offensive rebound rate and a 12.8 defensive rebounding rate. He's rebounding better on the offensive side of the ball than he is on the defensive side of the ball.
Maybe that's why I remember it, because the offensive rebounds stick out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he had 5 of them against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. I guess that's surprising that he's that good of an offensive rebounder and that
he has the best
below
offensive
out.
rebound rate on the team.
That makes sense. Why is he not better on the defensive glass then?
Good question. Because it's harder to. Well, it's not harder to defensive rebound. Offensive rebounding takes a certain level of skill set that I think he possesses.
I guess he just has it. He just likes being on that end of the court more than the other one.
I definitely think that. His defensive rebound rate is 15.6 on the season, which is fourth best. No, fifth best. Tied for fifth best on the team.
Does Mike have the best defensive rebounding rate on the team, I'm guessing? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
I did.
17%.
Okay. All right. So
Maik Kotsar,
4% better.
Maik Kotsar in SEC play. Holy hell.
All right, give it to me.
12th in offensive rating, 15th in effective field goal percentage, 14th in true shooting percentage, 9th in defensive rebound rate, 19th in assist rate.
In the conference.
Yeah, just in SEC games in the conference. 17th in turnover rate, which means he does not turn the ball over a lot. 16th in block percentage, 6th in steal percentage, and 15th. What do you think he ranks 15th in? Because I guarantee you will not guess it.
15th? Oh, no, I'm going to guess it. In conference play?
In conference
Is
play.
he 15th in free throw percentage?
He is 15th in free throw percentage.
Well, do you have the raw numbers?
Yeah. He is 33 for 41.
Okay.
80.5%.
So he's definitely not in like probably the top 75 in terms of free throws attempted in conference play, but he's at least hitting them at a good clip.
Yeah. And the thing is, he went like 5 of 26 to end the year last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's insane.
And he had a 2-game stretch where he didn't miss one. And then he missed he missed 1 or 2 against Tennessee and then made both of them. Now, Frank Martin was upset that he only got to take 2 against Mississippi State and probably had a gripe there, but made both of them.
That's huge. It's huge for him. But that's a long way to say that Alonzo Frank has been a pretty okay rebounder. Still a decent offensive rating. It dips. It's 8 points lower in SEC play than what it is for the entire season.
Okay.
But that makes sense because he had some good games down that stretch where they were playing pretty well.
Right.
They're still playing pretty well. But in non-con to end, when it was Clemson, Virginia, and Houston, he played pretty well. So that's what helped him there.
But a very good offensive rebounder, which again,
decent offensive
that's why
player.
it sticks out in my head because I feel like he's always snagging rebounds that I remember from the game.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because those are second chance opportunities for South Carolina. And, he played fine. He played fine.
Yeah. And
he played 21 minutes, which is more than 5 or 1 or whatever he's been playing lately.
And there were some times where he just didn't. The passes, sometimes the entry passes weren't great to him, but, he fumbles a few balls, turn it over a little bit. But
doesn't he need to bring the fro back?
I like
Wouldn't
the
that
fro.
help?
I like the fro a lot more than what he's wearing now.
I do too. And it changed Jalen's entire season, changing up the hairdo.
Yeah.
You think that, and didn't Alonzo start the season with the fro and had it for like 1 game and then switch to the little dreads?
He's bounced around a couple times. I think he got the dreads coming back from Christmas.
I was going to say, because it's been consistent at least since SEC play started. I thought I remembered seeing the fro early in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of both. You need to ask him. You're going to see him today. Well, actually, I don't know if he's going to be there for availability, but next time you see him, I need you to ask for me.
I'll hit him up.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good.
No, his sister is why he does it, I think, is his sister's a hairdresser back home. So when he goes home, his sister does that.
Where's he from?
New Jersey.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
He's from Jersey. I think he's from Jersey, but he obviously went to Roselle Catholic, which is a pipeline now for South Carolina kids.
Okay, very cool. All right, so I'm kind of dancing around it, and I'm going to continue to dance around it. So let's say Wildon Zavek.
Yep.
We knew he wasn't going to start. Not really ready for that role, but was certainly going to play more with Jalen McCreary out. Is he going to be good to go for LSU?
Yeah.
Or will you find out today? Or you assume that he's good?
Wildon's?
No, Jalen.
Jalen. I think he should be. We haven't really. Frank doesn't talk to the media on Fridays. He does his weekly thing, so I would assume he's available.
Okay, so we'll
usually
find
with
out
concussions. The time frame we always usually go with when you have a head injury is about a week.
Mm-hmm.
So
that puts him close.
Yeah, because concussion protocol is weird to where you have to exhibit no signs of a concussion for like X period of time, and that's over like a 30-hour, 48-hour period.
Right. So maybe it being a 6 o'clock tip is beneficial for Carolina. You get a couple extra hours.
Yeah. So that's the thing too, is that like even if he didn't have any concussion symptoms on Tuesday, right before they were about to travel, if it hadn't been for like if it hadn't hit the threshold yet, he couldn't be cleared.
Okay.
Even if he was fully recovered from it. So concussion protocol, and rightfully so, takes a lot to clear. And so we haven't heard if he's practicing, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. And I think he plays just based off of, general. I've watched a lot of college basketball. I know how this stuff usually plays out.
Yeah. But regardless, y'all F5 on Gamecock Central this afternoon to find out whether or not McCreary can play, because he's a big contributor. He played 15 minutes in the first half against Tennessee, which means I think it's safe to assume he's going to see his minutes load rise to a consistent 18 to 22, and he's earned it. But in his absence, Frank played a little bit more. We knew Levesque was going to play more. How much more remained to be seen. He played 18 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, did have a couple of bad fouls, had a steal, had a turnover. I'm going to guess that he was on the plus side of the plus-minus for the game, though.
Oh, let's find out.
It felt like there were some good things that happened when he was in the game.
And I like.
I thought he had a fine game.
I thought he had
in 18 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm guessing just plus 1 or 2. I don't think he was negative for the game, just based on the eye test. You have access to these numbers. I do not.
What do you think? Nobody was the highest plus-minus of the game was 7.
Plus 7?
He was not plus 7. The highest of the game was plus 7.
Who was plus 7?
Jair.
Oh, cool. There you go. Because he was in that little run, that little spurt at the end. I think Wildens was plus 1.
Higher?
Plus 3?
A little bit higher. Plus 4. Plus
okay,
4.
Cool. Good.
Who was the lowest, do you think?
Keyshawn?
No.
Trey? I don't know.
Alonzo Frank.
Alonzo Frank had the lowest. What was he, -6?
Minus 17.
-7 in 21 minutes? Whoa. All right. I retract what I said earlier. I'm glad you got 5 offensive rebounds, but -17?
Lawson was -4. These are the guys that were just minus. Bryant was -5. TJ Moss was -10. But those are the only guys that were minus. Q-Star was +4. Kotsar was +2. He just played a lot. He played 37 minutes. And the only time he came out was, I think the only time he came out was when he got 4 fouls.
Right, yeah.
Hannibal was +2. Nathan Nelson +2. Wildens +4. Jair +7.
There you go. Plus
those marinate.
Wait, Nathan Nelson didn't play, did he?
Nathan Nelson played. They would swap him and Mike. Mike would go on the offense. They would offensive and defensive sub for him.
So did he not record a minute? Because I'm looking at the box score.
Well, he didn't record a minute because it was he only played that final 25 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. No.
He played a fraction of a minute.
So he didn't even make the box score. That's weird.
He made the box score. I'm looking at it right now.
I'm looking at the one on ESPN. I watched the game. I don't really remember him being in there, but I guess it was just for the one possession.
It was like multiple possessions, but they were all fouls.
In that last stretch?
Yeah.
I didn't even
He would guard
that.
the inbound pass.
That's probably why I didn't notice him.
Yeah, and so he would guard the inbound pass, and then when they got to the free throw line, they'd hit the first. Mike would come back in for him on offense, and then you up and downed it.
There you go. Well, you would know. You were sitting right next to the court. By the way, different media section in Mississippi State, did you catch a basketball?
I did catch a basketball.
And you caught it. It didn't fall off your hands.
Yeah, it was
cool.
the one where I think Kusnard or Lawson airballed it to Frank down low.
Okay.
And it bounced right at me, and I reach up. You can't see what I'm doing, but I reach up and I grab it. And normally when you do that, you grab it, and then you wait for the ref, and you just throw it back to the ref.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Reggie Perry apparently was really in a hurry to get going. I'm looking at the ref, and he walks up to me, palms the basketball.
Nice.
And rips it out of my hands.
Cool.
And it scared the ever-loving crap out of me.
Did you say anything to him?
No.
Did he say anything to you?
No.
He just grabbed it?
He just reached down and snatched it because I wasn't paying attention to him. I was looking at the ref, and so I didn't see him come up, and he just grabbed it and ripped it out of my hands. Man's hands are massive.
Yeah, I bet. He's
massive.
6'10".
Yeah, absolutely massive.
That would be the biggest person I've ever met.
Yeah.
I think. Probably. Yeah. Anyway, you were close. Yeah. So Nathan Nelson did get in to guard the inbound pass. I seriously did not even notice that.
Yeah,
why were we talking about Nathan Nelson? Oh, we were talking about plus minus. That's right. And Wildens, +4.
+4.
Good job, Wildens. Solid game. If he plays 10, 12 minutes down the stretch, that's fine. You want to give 10 more of those minutes to Jalen.
Obviously.
Maybe take some of those minutes away from Frank. -17. That's really disappointing. Look, that's not the whole story. I'm not saying I base my entire opinion about a game.
Some of those runs.
Right.
Yeah.
Not great. Trey, not great. Too many turnovers. He forces it too much. Still like him.
Yeah.
Still has a lot of upside. Still
Which
does
is-
some nice things.
Yeah, and
Just
that's why
too many
you're
mistakes.
seeing. Yeah, and that's why you're seeing Frank not want to play him as much as he did at the. You know what I mean?
But he's still playing more than TJ Moss.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like not to say his game was pristine early on, like towards the end of non-con and beginning of SEC play, but it seemed like he made fewer mistakes then, and Frank was playing him less, which is maybe why. And now he's playing more, making more mistakes because he has more opportunities to. But it's just funny because you think if he's going to have a short leash for a guy, it would be now as opposed to early on when he wasn't making that many mistakes. But I don't know. It's good to see him like grow into that role of like the true first guard off the bench.
Yeah, and that's what you need from him. That's why Dwayne Notice and Sindarius were so good their senior years, is because they played a absolute amazing amount of minutes as freshmen and sophomores.
You get to work out the kinks.
Yeah.
It's good. Jair, you mentioned, highest plus minus on the team. Hit that 3. Other than that, didn't do a whole lot. Kind of low impact game for him, although he did have 6 points on 2 of 3 shooting. But
he had some bad defensive breakdowns, and that was the part that frustrated Frank. I mean, we were so
but he's always been a bad defender. Like, that's not really going to change. You need him to get out there and score more than he gives up defensively. He didn't do that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But my prediction was wrong. I said he was going to go 3 of 8 for every game for the rest of the season. He went 2 of 3. So more efficient, lower impact game than it needed to be. Speaking of low impact, TJ Moss, I wonder how many box score lines like this he's had this year. 11 minutes, no points, no field goal attempts, 1 assist, 1 turnover.
I would say a few.
I bet he has 6 box score lines that are exactly that from the season. I could pull up the game log. I don't really care enough to do that. I'll just say that I'm glad that Trey Hannibal is getting most of the minutes that Moss was getting early in the season because he's generally a low impact player.
Yeah. And what do you think Jair's plus minus is for the year? Minus the
Jair
UMass game.
Bolden's plus minus for the season.
Yeah. Minus the UMass game, which UMass is weird and didn't give us plus minus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Thanks, UMass.
I know, right? I freeze
You
my ass off.
massholes.
I freeze my ass off up there for you, and you don't give me plus minus.
Plus minus. Okay, so I don't even know where to guess. But
So I'll give you-
it's like plus 11 for the season or something.
I'll give you. You're way off.
Is it way higher?
Yeah, it was way way higher.
Really?
I'll give you some. Justin Minai hasn't played in.
Because he was a starting point guard in all those games that Carolina. Well, I mean, he was a starting point guard in the Stetson game, in the Florida game, and then
Stetson, he was only -1. No, Stetson, he was minus.
I'm just thinking because he
7,
was
sorry.
not part of the reason that Carolina was losing, but his taking over the point guard role sort of directly coincided with Carolina dipping. I guess with the exception of Virginia, and then was he the starting point guard for the Clemson game?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I guess I'm just remembering the end of his tenure as a starting point guard. I have no idea.
Give me 1 second because I'm curious. He has a higher plus minus on the year than Jermaine Couisnard.
Oh, okay, all right. This is why plus minus doesn't work.
He's plus 91. Jermaine is plus 90.
Plus 91? I guess Carolina's won a lot more games than they've lost.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
His lowest minus, though, was minus 17 against Florida. He
I just
doesn't really
figured-
have all of his
What's
minuses.
his biggest plus game? Virginia?
No, he was plus 7 against Virginia. Plus 16 against Wyoming.
Okay. I'm just thinking, it seems like...
It's all like marginal. No,
I was going to say, I would assume it's all marginal, like plus 4 here,
so
minus 2
plus
there.
14 against Texas A&M, plus 13 against Vanderbilt. But all of his minuses are like -2, -1, -1, -1.
See, I
He's
think
only
it would have
had-
been more like plus 4s and 5s and minus 3s and 4s.
He's only had 3. Most of the plus minuses are like +4, +3, +6, +9, +8, +9. But when
Yeah.
his pluses are a little bit higher. The only ones that are his only minuses that have been more than 5
Mm-hmm.
was that 3-game stretch, Stetson, Florida, and Tennessee, where he was minus 30 combined. -7 against Stetson, -17 against Florida, -6 against Tennessee.
Well, I guess that's cool.
AJ Lawson, though, fun facts, is plus 99.
Plus 99 is AJ?
I think, and then Mike
Is plus 146.
very close, 136.
Hmm.
He's the highest plus minus on the team.
That makes sense. So that's what I was saving. We went through everybody else. And I guess we mentioned that Maik Kotsar had a great game. But I want to ask you like this. You, Collyn, know a lot about SEC basketball. And we know that Reggie Perry was an SEC Player of the Year candidate Who would you say are the other SEC Player of the Year candidates right now? Just throw out a couple.
Nick Richards, Mason Jones, Brian Tyree, Kerry Blackshear. Pretty much all the guys that Ken Palm has up there.
And a lot of guys that Maik Kotsar has had to guard.
Outside of Mason Jones and Brian Tyree. Yes.
And what did Kerry Blackshear do?
Nothing.
And what did Reggie Perry do?
Nothing.
And what did
Nick Richards?
Nick Richards had a fine game, didn't he?
A little bit before getting in foul trouble. A little bit before getting in foul trouble.
Yeah, he was probably like 14-9 that game or something like that.
I'm looking it up.
I'm just throwing out a number. I don't remember that.
He actually had a pretty solid game. 15 points on 5 of 6 shooting, 5 of 8 from the free throw line, 7 of 7 rebounds.
Oh, so wait,
4 turnovers, 4 blocks, and then 3 fouls.
And you mentioned Reggie Perry, 10-10. He got his 10 rebounds, but 8 or 9 points below his season average scoring, and 7 turnovers. It's a lot. I don't know how many of those Mike was directly responsible for, but he did have 3 steals.
He's an All-SEC player.
He isn't. 2 weeks ago, it was like, is Mike the SEC Defensive Player of the Year? The answer is legitimate conversation. Now it's like,
Maik Kotsar
is like all SEC, and he's not the SEC Player of the Year.
No,
he's not going to be in that conversation.
Brian Tyree's probably there.
And he doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't deserve to be, but he doesn't. He's not a short list. He's not a top 5, top 7, probably even top 10 guy in the SEC.
It's really hard to give it to a big that award.
Yeah, and especially when it's a team that's 16-10.
Yeah, and we'll finish probably 4th, 5th, 6th,
right,
in the SEC.
But
but he's
first team all defense for sure.
Definitely first team
for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
and
it's getting closer and closer to defensive player of the year now.
Yeah,
and probably second team all SEC.
Second team all SEC. That seems right.
You're probably going to give the first team to
Nick Richards and Reggie Perry. Yeah,
but he's in that conversation with Kerry Blackshear.
Oh man, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 11 of 17 shooting. He took a 3.
He was forced into a 3.
I know.
It was late in the game.
Yeah, I know. But he took a 3.
As I'm watching, the funniest part was I knew he wasn't going to make it because that's just not part of Mike's game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm watching it because it was right in front of me, and I'm like, I got to come up with a pun if he makes this. And it clanged out, and then I was like, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
What would it have been?
I don't know.
Had you workshopped anything to that point? Because I know you want to.
That's why I panicked. I was like, oh, hell, I got to come up with a pun if he makes this.
Because you're really excited about Sean Bryant.
Sean Bryant.
If Keyshawn ever even attempts a 3 or makes one, which he's made probably 3 this year?
1, I still think.
Just 1?
In that Virginia game.
In the whole year?
Yeah.
It's not great.
But I wanted Trey Hannibal is a good one.
Jeez, yeah, he's made 1 3.
But Trey, like Trey Hannibal.
Mm-hmm. Trey.
There's some good ones out there.
There's some good ones. Hopefully you have to worry about it for Mike by the end of the season, but
that's just not part of his game right now.
No, it's not.
And he's had to work so much on getting his mid-range to where it's comfortable, and holy hell is it comfortable right now. And then he can extend from there, but right now...
and he's got that little hook going, which it makes such a difference. Because the difference, he's been more aggressive this year.
Absolutely.
He's been more aggressive, especially on the glass, which is nice, and driving, taking guys off the dribble, which is fine. But he's still usually not someone that goes all the way to the rack. But the difference is he would take 3 or 4 of those little floaters, faders, whatever, that would all bounce in and out. Yeah. And for a while, it seemed like he was the unluckiest player ever. Yeah. And then it was like, oh, he's just not very good. But he's getting all those to go. His touch around the rim has improved so much.
It's just clicked, and he led a fast break against Mississippi State. They threw it to him. They had an outlet pass for Maik Kotsar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what speaks volumes about how far he's come as a player.
GOAT-Sar. Anything else about Mississippi State?
No.
Carolina had 17 assists on 29 made baskets.
Pretty good.
Again, shot 48% from the field.
That's the frustrating part with that game.
Yeah.
Where you were like, they actually, offensively, they turned the ball over too much and made some stupid fouls, but they didn't shoot the ball horribly, and they didn't execute poorly in the half court sometimes. Yeah. They rushed some things.
The tournament, that game was weird because Mississippi State is a team that likes to slow it down. I don't know where they are in pace, but I know they're towards the bottom of the SEC, like probably bottom 4 or 5, something like that. They like to slow it down. There were stretches in that game where it was just wide open, and Mississippi State was throwing ahead, outlet passes in semi-transition. I was like, this is not how they typically play.
No.
And yet, this is kind of the game we're playing. It was like boom, 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 boom,
And
boom.
they never force turnovers. That's a team that sucks at forcing turnovers.
Well, and some of them weren't forced. I mean, like dribbling out of bounds. That's if this were tennis, that's an unforced error.
Yeah, and then South Carolina turned them more 15 times.
Yeah, which is probably what 3-4 more than they average. Which is I mean, like 15's like more than average turnovers, but it's not a horrible amount.
No, and they're below the NCAA.
The national average is what 13. And
I'm looking at turnover rate. Turnover rate's 19.1 of percent of possessions. South Carolina is 18.6, so just below.
Okay. Yeah,
they're above average in terms of
which is nice, and that's what they need. And they still won the turnover margin by 7. They forced 22 turnovers and had 11 steals against Mississippi State, which is kind of what you needed to do.
And they held Mississippi State. Mississippi State came in, I think, averaging 109 points per 100, and were held to 101.8. So you held them under their per 100 average, which is
that's good. The disappointing part,
which is why the net stayed the same. First of all,
right, in terms of the efficiency.
Yeah.
The disappointing part of Wednesday, obviously, other than South Carolina losing, is that Mississippi State shot 50%, and it didn't feel like an outrageous shooting night for them.
No,
they just had a lot of good looks, and they were able to hit them.
Yeah, and they shot the ball well, and they hit big shots when they needed to hit big shots, and South Carolina didn't.
Yeah, by and large, every time Carolina, it was like 8, and then they would get it down to 4, and then Mississippi State would make 2 baskets.
Yeah. Like,
which we've seen Carolina do a lot this year. So I'm sure it was frustrating for them to be on the other side of it. Because when they've lost, it's been getting their heads smashed.
Yeah. And when they won a lot of times, it's because they're smashing heads.
Yeah.
So,
but another close game, a competitive game, a well-contested game. The finish was obviously exciting. Ultimately, Carolina lost, and now they need to go 4-1 in the next 5 games. And that starts Saturday against LSU, who was a slight favorite against Carolina heading into the game Wednesday. They lost to Kentucky. I guess they lost to Kentucky on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But they lost their midweek game to Kentucky. It was also, I think, a 3-point margin, but it was a even more comfortable victory for Kentucky than the Mississippi State game was, even though Mississippi State was up by 11 with 2.5 to go.
Yeah, they led by 15 with 4:26 left.
Right. So since then, the line has actually, well, I don't know if the line has flipped, but you said according to KenPom, the percentages have slightly shifted.
Yeah, so South Carolina was given a 49% chance to win entering the week, and now it's switched. So LSU's only given a 49% chance of projecting South Carolina to be. But it's a 1-point game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, where it's like anything can happen.
It's a pick'em.
Yeah,
it's a pick'em.
It's a pick'em.
But Carolina is in a pick'em scenario with LSU, who's a good team, who's going to make the tournament. If you had told Carolina fans that a month ago, they would have thought it was crazy. Now, in this case, it has a little bit less to do with South Carolina and a little bit more to do with the fact that LSU has lost 4 of their last 5 games, which is crazy.
You're getting a desperate LSU team right now.
Yeah. And you forgive a loss at Auburn. You forgive a loss to Kentucky. Even at Alabama is fine.
Yeah.
But one of those losses is at Vanderbilt, and the only win in this stretch is a 4-point win against Missouri.
They're just not playing well right now. Which is, they're the worst defensive team in the SEC. Worst. They're giving up 110.1 points per possession. 110
points per 100 possessions. So for Carolina, attack. You were exactly right about, and I didn't necessarily even think it was wrong. It felt like a lot of it fit within the flow of the game because, like I said, there were times in that Mississippi State game that it was kind of a fast-paced, high-octane game. There were times when Carolina would take a 3, 10 seconds in the shot clock. It didn't feel like a bad shot.
No.
They just weren't going down. But you really can't do that against LSU. You need to take high percentage shots because you're going to get them, and you're probably going to have to score in the high 70s or low 80s to win.
Because LSU can score the ball.
Yeah.
They can score. They are the best offensive efficiency team in SEC play and the worst defensive team in.
What's their offensive efficiency?
114.
Okay. So they're +4 on the season.
Yeah. We're just in conference play. So in their, 13 conference games, whatever they've played. This is, and South Carolina's a good defensive team. So if you can hold LSU like they did to Mississippi State under their scoring average, and you take advantage of a really, really bad defensive team, that might help you out. I'm not going to say they're going to win.
LSU's 18-8, 9-4 in conference. Carolina's 16-10, 8-5 in conference, which means Carolina wins. You got the tiebreaker over LSU, which is kind of crazy. You have the tiebreaker over Kentucky. Florida has a tiebreaker over you. Auburn has a tiebreaker over you. And you have a chance to even it up with Mississippi State. But if Carolina still wants to jockey for that 4 seed, you have a couple of important, or at least one important tiebreaker. Kentucky's not going to fall all the way to like forcing conversation,
no.
but this is a huge tiebreaker.
Yeah.
If you want it.
Yeah, it's huge. Yes. It's absolutely huge. And if you don't, then you're probably looking at playing on Thursday instead of getting a double bye, more than likely in the SEC tournament. So, you lose and things get very tough because
you have 3 winnable games,
and you got to go on the road
at Alabama, at Vanderbilt, Georgia at home,
Mississippi State at home.
And then the Mississippi State game becomes incredibly important. That game is already incredibly important, but if you beat LSU, you can still lose that game. And
you're playing with house money at that point against Mississippi State or Alabama.
It does not end your season if you lose to Mississippi State at home, although it would definitely suck for Carolina. But this game, let's just say it is important. It's more important than Wednesday's Mississippi State game. And it's going to be tough, but it's at home, which is kind of cool. That helps, I think.
It's going to be a wild atmosphere.
You hope so. It's at 6 o'clock, so you'll have enough time to go to happy hour, get some apps, a couple IPAs, couple sours.
What's the weather like?
Probably cold, so maybe you want to drink a stout or two.
Yeah.
Well, and those are higher ABV anyway.
Yeah.
And you can get a beer at the Colonial Life Arena.
I went to Columbia Craft the other night and had a very nice beer, the Van Dam.
I've had that, yeah.
Very, very good.
I like Columbia Craft. It's close to me. I don't go there a ton. I guess I just don't drink a ton, but Columbia Craft is like on my short list of places that I'll go. Yeah. This is not sponsored by Columbia Craft, but I think the last time I went there was to play bingo like a couple months ago, which was cool.
I like River Rat and I like Columbia Craft a lot.
River Rat I go do trivia because my buddy Chris King's the trivia master over there.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Tomorrow since we're recording this on Friday, it will be 54 degrees at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Not day drinking weather.
Yeah, but put on a jacket and go have a beer.
Put on a jacket and you can go sit on a patio somewhere and feel good.
And then go to the game and cheer and hope that LSU doesn't score 95 points.
Yes, that would be
they're
that would be
capable
ideal.
Of doing.
That would be ideal.
The matchup maybe scares you a little bit. Skylar Mays, Javonte Smart.
Two good
guards.
Which has been a problem.
It's a more veteran team. I think the only freshmen that play significant minutes for LSU are Trendon Watford and Andre Hyatt. Everyone else is at least older than that.
Their starters play 80.2% of minutes. No, 79.2% of minutes.
So you're going to win the bench margin.
Yeah.
You better.
Yeah. They do not do a lot of bench minutes. 340th in the country out of 353 teams. So they ride or die pretty much with Skylar Mays, Javonte Smart, Marlon Taylor, Darius Days, and Trendon Watford.
So get those guys in foul trouble.
Yeah, if you can get them in foul trouble, that helps you out because then they're having to play guys that don't play a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably good for you.
Let's see, I'm trying to look at their raw numbers here because they don't shoot the three particularly well, 31.5%.
Which is, they're shooting 31.7% in SEC play.
A little bit better in conference play.
But marginally, teams are shooting 37.1% from three against them.
31.7?
37.1.
Oh, 37% against LSU.
Yeah.
So Jair Bolden,
Jermaine
Couisnard, AJ Lawson.
We'll have some open looks.
Mike, you want to make your first three of the season?
I gotta start thinking of puns.
Keyshawn. Three-Shawn. You have the opportunity to make just your second three of the season. High-scoring game. It's going to be high octane.
Yeah.
What's the difference in this game if Carolina wins?
Guard play. It's going to come down to if AJ Lawson can rebound and to give him credit in the big games against, outside of Mississippi State, against the Arkansas, against guys that are going to be playing professionally soon. He's usually played pretty well offensively. So give him some credit. I think he's excited about the opportunity, and I think if you can get more consistent minutes from AJ and Jermaine, that can offset some of the stuff that their guards can do well.
Probably going to be an important Trey Hannibal game. Everyone always gets in foul trouble because it's college basketball, so what are Carolina's second and third options going to do? Jair, you don't count on defensively. Can Trey come in, make an impact defensively, slow those guys down? When Jair comes in, can he score more than he gives up defensively? Carolina's going to have to be sound on the glass, too. LSU does rebound the ball pretty well. They're averaging over 40 rebounds a game. I thought Carolina was a good rebounding team at just about 37, but LSU, 3 more entire rebounds which is also impressive because they're not a good defensive team, which means teams shoot a higher percentage against them, which means there are fewer opportunities for defensive rebounds.
They offensive rebound the hell out of the ball. Best offensive rebounding team in the SEC in terms of offensive rebound rate. 6th best in the country.
6th best in the country?
Mississippi State was 3rd best, too.
Oh, wow.
So
okay. And
playing
Carolina
two really
won the
good
offensive glass in that game.
Yeah, so you're playing 2 really good offensive rebounding teams back-to-back.
Yeah. Didn't kill you last game. Don't let it kill you this game. Yeah. If Jalen's back, that makes a big difference. Huge difference. What we learned today in the podcast, don't let Alonzo Frank play too many minutes because he's not going to help you defensive rebounding, and he's going to be minus 17 in the game. That number really shocks me.
Yeah, it threw you for a loop, didn't it? That's why I hate plus-minus on a single-game basis because variance is so high. Mm-hmm. I think it's better telling based off of a set.
Yeah, so and he just hasn't played much lately. I mean, I guess with Jalen, I mean that was kind of it. And he's been starting, but like he started and played 5 minutes against Tennessee, right?
Yeah, going into the game, he had a pretty nice plus 69. But
that was
he's at nice. Plus 52 now after his minus 17 performance. Wow! But his last 3 games, since coming into the starting lineup against A&M, plus 15, plus 11, plus 1. So he's been plus 27 his last 3 games. Solid, not great, but he's not playing that much. So smaller sample size.
What else about LSU? How's this game going to go? Carolina could definitely win it. They can win every game.
It's one of those where I think the Tennessee game was 2-2 with the first media timeout. Mm-hmm. Do not think this game will be 2-2 with the first media timeout.
But just because you said that, it's going to be 2-0 at the first media timeout.
And I'll still be right.
That's true.
And I'd still be right. But this is going to be high scoring. This is going to depend on South Carolina's going to have ample opportunity to get points. It's just a matter of if they can slow LSU down. Mm-hmm. And I think if they do that and you limit their second chance points, which obviously if you're offensive rebounding the ball, you have more opportunity. Limit possessions, limit the second chance points, you have a good shot to win this basketball game.
You would think that a team that's been one of the best teams in the SEC defensively for most of the season would have a pretty good chance to do that. Yeah. But what's weird is the defense was the difference in the Mississippi State game. You score 76 points on the road against a team like Mississippi State
and lose.
Yeah, that normally gives you a chance to win, and they had a chance to win.
And Frank was very upset with the defense. He said our defense let us down today.
Right, and especially with his guards. And so much of this game is going to rest for LSU on the shoulders of Mays and of Smart.
Yeah, and I think that the guards got so used to going back to Mississippi State for a sec to have Jalen behind him, Justin behind him, that now they're trying to adjust to that, to keeping guys in front of them a little bit more, hedging and
Mike's guarding the 4 against Mississippi State, so he's
not in the paint as much.
Not in the paint as much, yeah, exactly.
So if you get Jalen back, you can throw Jalen at the 4. Mike at the 5, and then you have a little bit more of a paint presence there so that if they do get behind you, you have some help there. But it's going to come down to guard play.
Yep.
If you can slow their guards down, and if you can get better play from AJ and from Jermaine.
And this is on ESPN too. So AJ, if you still think you want to go to the NBA this year, which I think is a mistake, and you won't play in the NBA next year, you'll be in the G League, best case scenario, but you're still trying to impress people, or if you just want your parents back home in Canada to see you play a really good basketball game because you're on ESPN too, got a little bit more of a spotlight than you normally have, this is an opportunity. Do your Rondo thing, where Rondo is bad all the time. Not that AJ's bad all the time, but Rondo is bad all the time, except when he plays on national TV. AJ, got a little bit of spotlight, show out. Yeah. 25 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, no turnovers, shoot the ball well, play really good defense. That's the formula here. Guard play. I'm not reverse jinxing Keyshawn Bryant anymore.
Do you want to do our reverse jinx? Is that your reverse jinx?
No.
That's not your reverse jinx.
No, because we've been doing this for almost a full season. I still don't understand exactly how we do that.
Do you want a reverse jinx? No.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, give me one.
No, I want to do countdowns.
Okay.
Because that's more fun.
Yeah, it is. I had to explain it to Wes and Chris the other day because we did it on another Carolina podcast, a little countdown. I don't remember what we were even counting down, but we stole it because it's such a good segment.
Yeah. No, I can't get enough. This is what I look forward to.
All right.
3, 2, 1, then go, right?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, then go.
Screwed that up the first time.
It's
I have
not
to double
Keyshawn.
check.
I'll do it. 3, 2, 1. Trey Hannibal. Frank? No. What? Big bounce back game, you think?
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to need to be good on the defensive glass because LSU's a good offensive rebound.
Yeah, but he hadn't been.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's why I'm trying to reverse jinx it.
Yeah. What's the over-under for this game?
That's a good question.
I still like Frank as an offensive player. He just hasn't been. I guess his offensive efficiency numbers have been good, but he just hadn't played that much.
No.
I want him to be better. I like the idea of having a more old school back to the basket guy like that.
And he is. And
yeah, but he just. I don't know. So I'd be cool if that's it. I think Trey Hannibal is going to be big in this game because of what he's going to have to do defensively when he comes in. And can he not turn the ball over? He's been turning the ball over a little bit too much lately. Too many freshman mistakes. Big opportunity for him to have hey, I'm not a freshman anymore. I'm here kind of game.
Yeah. I think, and this is one of those ones where you're going to have a lot of chances to get some defensive rebounds.
And this is weirdly a game, if you're a Carolina fan, that you probably want the officials to call it tightly and to be kind of annoying with the whistle.
Yeah.
Because that benefits you, because you have the depth. They do not.
I'm looking here. Odds have not come out per OddsShark.
Okay, that's fine. It's normally like 24 hours before the game, so we'll get those a little bit later this evening. But
LSU 11-5 against the spread. South Carolina 15-11. I think they beat the spread against Mississippi State. Were they 5.5?
5.5. So good job. Yeah, that was the other interesting subplot in that game. Carolina was. Well, I don't know where you're looking. 16. So that was 25 games. So they were. Oh gosh, I can't remember. The point is, Carolina and Mississippi State were one game apart from each other against the spread.
Yeah, I'm looking at OddsShark.
Okay,
that's where I'm looking there. 15-11 against the spread.
15-11. So I guess they were 14-11 against the spread going into Mississippi State. Mississippi State was like 13-10-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So Carolina,
they were evenly matched, and that's why the sky's not falling.
Yeah, and we'll get to talk about that again in just a little bit here. But y'all go out to the Colonial Life Arena, have fun, enjoy the LSU game. Hopefully it's entertaining. It should be entertaining.
Yeah.
And don't complain too much if the officials are calling the game tightly because, again, that favors South Carolina. So even though it'll be kind of annoying to watch, it probably helps Carolina.
You want LSU in foul trouble, yes.
Yeah. Read him on GamecockCentral.com.
Please.
Good piece up right now about Keyshawn Bryant. You mentioned it earlier. Gave us a good quote from that. Go read it. Follow him on Twitter at Collyn Taylor with a Y. Tweet at him if you make a T-shirt out of his tweets. And if you are someone that wants to print a bunch of Maik Kotsar T-shirts in anticipation of his SEC Defensive Player of the Year award.
If you do, save one for me. I wear an extra large.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you should absolutely get one for free if they print one. Yeah, I kind of want one too. Give me a medium. At Pearson Fowler if you want to get me on Twitter. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. We will be back on... What's the midweek game next week? Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back on Tuesday. Week after that, we'll be back on Monday. But next week, we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll talk to you then.